After our group watched our 13 and a half minute little meeting there, we decided to talk about verbal, nonverbal, and listening traits. Uh, so, as for myself, I noticed a lot of things right away. Most important being, as I was speaking in the beginning, I wasn't really using a restricted code or an elaborated code per se, but more in the middle, probably more of a restricted code. I was projecting myself pretty well, I thought, even though non-verbally, I was making a lot of sort of amateur speaking mistakes. Kinesics, I sort of had my hand like this a lot, or like this, which definitely would not help anyone who's listening to me really connect or take what I was doing seriously. And occlusics, as far as eye contact, I wasn't nearly making as much eye contact with the people I was talking to as I should have. My facial expression, honestly, was bored, even though that's not really the case. So definitely some things I can work on there. My listening traits, I probably wasn't looking at the person that was speaking as much as I should have. Even though I would classify myself as a sort of a mix between a people-oriented listener and an action-oriented listener. I was interested in what people were saying and the content of what they were saying, but I was also listening to how they felt about certain things as well. So after watching myself, wasn't too bad, but there are definitely some things I can work on, especially nonverbal.
So for mine, I talked about verbal, nonverbal communication, and also listening. I noticed that after watching the video for my verbal, I had a really restricted tone, which meant that I was short, simple, and to the point. I also was trying to just get the main points so that others could key in and say what they wanted to say. Also for kinesics, in nonverbals, I was a little slouched over the whole time. I had a really relaxed look just because I've been together with this group for a while now, and I'm getting used to them. As for use of gestures, whenever I was pointing at something on the laptop that I thought was important, I would use hand gestures. As for personal appearance, I thought that everyone focused on the task because we knew what certain roles had to be done. So everyone was really on point with what they had to, they thought was important. For oculesics, I had pretty poor eye contact because I was looking at my laptop the whole time trying to explain what we had to get done and what was important on there. I wasn't too focused on if people were paying attention or not. I know people at the other side of the table were still talking because I wasn't projecting my voice enough. For facial expressions, I looked a little bit tired, but I guess that's because I am. For listening, I wasn't looking at those speaking. I only listened to the information that I thought was important also, but I tried to, or that I thought was interesting to me. I'd say that I was more action-oriented because I preferred concise, efficient, and almost error-free messages that people were trying to talk about. Also, I'd say that it was people-oriented for listening because I was concerned for other people's feelings on each matter, and if they had something that they disagreed with, they'd key in and let me know what they'd like instead of what my thoughts were about the matter. I was also very understanding of others' opinions and things that we had to get done for the website.
All right, so as I observed myself, I noticed that I had a restricted code in my verbal skills. I was very simple in conversation. And when I did talk, I just wanted to get the main point across. As for my nonverbal, out of the 7 primary codes, I noticed my kinesics, and to elaborate more, my posture is pretty poor, but I just like to blame that because I always have poor posture. And when I was talking, I would use my hands to elaborate more on what I wanted to say. For listening, I think I have a mix of people-oriented and action-oriented. I like to notice other people's feelings and emotions, yet I like my information presented to me in more organized manner for me to understand it.
All right, my name's Dan, and after reading that or watching the video of our group meeting, I noticed a few things. Everyone seems to have the same kind of verbal and nonverbal skills. That's probably why we get along very well as a group. I, for one, I have a restricted code. I prefer simple, short, and conventional language. I didn't have too many long conversations during the meeting, but the ones that I did were very brief that were actually related to the topic we were talking about. For nonverbal, my kinesis, I noticed that I'm kind of a busybody. I'm constantly moving during the video, whether I'm just listening or if I'm talking to somebody else. I didn't really notice if that distracted anybody at any time, but that's something I noticed. And then listening, I'm definitely an action-oriented listener. For every time there was a conversation, someone was explaining something, I would pay attention. But if it wasn't something that was directly related to myself or was something that I could give input on, my attention would usually shift. But overall, after watching the group, I'd say we have very good verbal and nonverbal skills, and we have productive meetings.
When looking at myself throughout the video, I noticed that my verbal communication style was very concrete. I tried to be very clear and concise, and I think I used a restricted code. I was trying to be short, sweet, to the point, when I probably should have elaborated a little more on a few parts. When it comes to nonverbal communication, my kinesics, I was a bit slouched. I should have had a little better sit up straight, a little better posture. Should have looked people in the eye when I was speaking as well as when I was listening, just so people can respect me and know I'm really trying to get my point out there. My listening habits, I think I was more of an action-oriented listener. I just wanted to hear efficient, clear, concise information that was going to give us more progress towards success of our project. And I just wasn't really in any room for error, but I also was more people-oriented, trying to listen to other people's thoughts, as well as try to get a perception on how they feel.
Be quick, guys.
When I was looking over my video, I noticed my verbal was more restricted code. I was just like everybody else has stated that they were kind of short and sweet and to the point, and they just wanted to get the details out, and that was about it. And my nonverbal was oculesics. Most of the time I was just looking at the computer or looking somewhere else rather than the person that I was speaking to. And listening was more action-oriented. My eye contact was pretty limited until I knew that somebody was making hand gestures, till they were getting my attention with something that they were saying.
So for my verbal communication, I was really restricted. Didn't really use long words, concise. Nonverbal, I use kinesics pretty well, pointing at people. Try to keep eye contact with them when I was listening to them. Listening style was people-oriented and content-oriented. I was just trying to make sure I understood what they were saying. And then for the source, nonverbal communication cannot be faked, according to helpguide.org. At first, I was quite interested in what everyone had to say. Then, as the meeting went on, I just kind of leaned back and didn't really pay attention as much. But yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's not bad.